Things Not Seen, Chapter 1, About Me, Day 1. It's a Tuesday morning in February, and I get up as usual, and I stumble into the bathroom to take a shower in the dark, which is my school day method because it's sort of like an extra 10 minutes of sleep. It's after the shower that's when it happens. It's when I turn on the bathroom light and wipe off the fog off the mirror to comb my hair. It's what I see in the mirror. It's what I don't see. I look a second time, and then rub at the mirror again. I'm not there. That's what I'm saying. I'm not there. I feel kind of dizzy, so I make my way back to bed because if I'm dreaming, bed is the place, right? And I wait to wake up. But I don't because I already am. I feel my heart pounding in my chest. My breath comes fast, my mouth is dry. I lift my head off the pillow and see my shape on the bed. It's right there under the covers. Then I pull off the electric blanket and the sheet. Nothing. So I go back to the bathroom, to the big mirror. And I'm still not there. The mirror is the mirror, and it is on the wall, and I am not there in front of it. I think I am. I see the mirror. I see my towel wave through the air. I see the shower curtain jump when I punch at it. But I don't see me. So I panic. I wrap the towel around my waist, and I go to tell my mom and dad, which is not like me. I don't tell them much. They're okay in small doses, and they can be useful. Them knowing what I'm up to usually makes them less useful. But they are smart. I give them that much, and this looks like a problem, where smarts might count, so I'm headed for the kitchen. I know they'll both be there, because this is a work day, a school day, and on such a day in the Phillips house, eggs and toast hit the heat at 7:15, always. I go down the hall to the stairs and I stop. I'm scared of the stairs. Normally I have good eye-hand coordination. I don't dork out, don't drop my tray in the cafeteria, trip on the stairs, nothing like that. But there's a problem this morning. No hands, no arms, no legs, no feet. I feel them, but I can't see them. I hang on to the banister and feel my way down like a 3-year-old. Then I'm in the kitchen doorway, my feet cold on the tile floor. Dad scrambles the eggs. Mom reads the paper and says, "Guys, I can't see myself." They glance at the door to the dining room, and Dad says, "Well, come on in here, and let's see what's the matter." And I say, "But that's what's the matter. I am in here. I can't see myself. You can't see me. I can't be seen. Like, I'm invisible." Mom looks at Dad, and she smiles, that kids kind of smile that I hate, then looks back to her paper. She turns on her voice of authority. "Stop messing around now, Bobby. You've only got 20 minutes before your bus. Disconnect the microphone or the walkie-talkie or whatever it is you're playing with. Come hang up this wet towel and then get in here and eat. Now." Meet Professor Mom, also known as the director. Her motto is, "When in doubt, give an order." She's used to the timid little freshmen in her literature classes at the University of Chicago. She expects young people to jump when she barks at them. I've been accused. I'm messing around, goofing off. Again, so I pull out my chair, sit on it, grab my orange juice, glug it down, and thump the glass onto the placemat. And now I've got their attention. Completely. Dad stops stirring eggs and stares at my empty glass. Mom leans so far forward that she spills her own juice and drips it into her lap. She doesn't notice. Dad says, "This is a trick, right? Do something else." So I pick up my spoon, lick it, and hang it on my nose. A pretty good trick even when your nose looks like it's there. The spoon hangs in midair. "Bobby," Mom's voice is squeaky. "Bobby, stop this." Another order. "I'm not doing anything, Mom. It's just happening." The spoon drops and jangles on the floor. It's a ceramic floor in an old Victorian kitchen in Chicago in February, and I'm sitting on an oak chair wearing a damp towel. I'm freezing. Dad turns off the heat under the eggs. Have you ever had the science of exactly what happens during the process of making scrambled eggs explained to you in great detail? I have, about 10 times. Dad stands there with a wooden spoon in one hand, frying pan in the other. The look on his face says, "Perplexed physicist at work." I'm expecting a theory any second, and Dad delivers. He says, "Since we can't all be dreaming this, we must be looking at some kind of visible light anomaly. I read the research on this kind of thing. The research on the mathematical theories. But this is a phenomenon. An event. Such a useful observation. The guy can't help being Joe Physics. It's what he does. He works at Fermilab. That's one of those places where they smash atoms and then take pictures of the bits. Life is one big science experiment for Dad. Dad's been waving the spoon around as he talks. Egg boogers are all over the place. Mom tries to talk again, but all we get is more squeaks. I'm starting to wonder when the smarts are going to kick in. Dad gets it back under control almost right away. He mops up Mom's juice, serves up 3 plates, and sits down. Dad and I start to eat, but instantly he stops chewing. Dad watches as I float forkloads of rubbery eggs up to my mouth. So does Mom. And I'm watching too. It's a good show, Bobby and his disappearing breakfast, now appearing on the big screen of life in the kitchen of the weird. Mom's hand starts reaching for where she figures my arm will be. She's off by about a foot, so I lean forward to help out. When her hand hits flesh, she freaks, like she's grabbed a lizard or something. Oh God, it's Bobby, it's him, he's there, he's not, oh God, David, do something, let's call Dr. Weston, or someone else, a specialist. So I'm thinking, oh great, yeah, let's call one of those invisible teenager specialists. I'll get the yellow pages. But I don't say that. I say, Mom, come on, pull it together. I'm not sick or anything. I'm okay. See? I'm eating a healthy breakfast to help build strong bodies 12 ways. Really, Mom, I'm okay. And I reach over and pat her hand. She jumps again, but then she grabs hold of my hand with both of hers. She squeezes so hard I can feel my bones turning to tuna salad. She's kind of rocking back and forth in her chair, trying to get her breathing to slow down. She doesn't know where to look. Her eyes dart all over where I'm sitting, but then she focuses in on the captive hand, that blank space between her two hands that feels like her only child, her little baby Bobby. Her life's big disappointment. It's Dad again. He's clearing his throat. That means he knows something we don't, and he wants to be sure we're listening carefully. Emily, now think. We can't tell a soul about this, not one person. Not your parents, not Dr. Weston, not Margie or Lewis, not anyone. Imagine what would happen if this news of this, whatever this is, if this got out into the public. We'd have every reporter and every camera in the world on our front steps in half an hour. And the government? I know, the government. They would be here 10 minutes after the story broke to take Bobby somewhere safe. You think the CIA and the Joint Chiefs would be interested in this? I can tell you without a doubt they would. So we tell no one. He stops to let that sink in. When there's a family crisis or something bad happens, you get to call for outside help. When Bobby gets caught shoplifting, you call your lawyer. When Mom drops her ring down the drain, you call a plumber. Dad spills the charcoal grill onto the deck, you call the fire department. But if your kid dissolves in the shower one morning, who do you call? No one. Dad's got it right. This has to stay in the house. Then Dad crams some phony cheer into his voice and says, hey, who knows? Everything could be back to normal in half an hour, but no matter what, we tell no one, agreed? Mom slowly nods her head, yes, and so do I. Dad looks in my direction and says, and you agree too, Bobby? Then I realize that Dad can't see me nodding. So I say, absolutely, my invisible lips are sealed. Then I say, but Mom's got a good point, even if we can't tell anyone. Don't we have to do something? Dad again, do? Well, first we have to think. Things that are impossible never happen, and everything that happens has a law behind it. I mean, there's only cause and effect, right? We are looking at an effect, so there must be a cause. We find the cause, we reverse it, and that eliminates the effect. Joe physics again. It's the look on Mom's face that makes me talk back to Dad, because she isn't buying his little science speech either. So I say, yeah, that sounds great, Dad, but that still doesn't answer the question, which is, what do I do? Like right now, like all day today and tomorrow, and maybe next week. This isn't some physics lab, Dad. This is me. Why don't you just admit the truth, that the truth is you have no idea what I should do? That brings Mom back to life. Now listen here, young man. It never fails. Whenever I screw up or mouth off, I miraculously become a young man. Mom keeps talking. Your father and I have always been good parents, and we're not going to stop just because of some special problem. So just mind your manners and keep a civil tongue in your head. We'll do everything we can. You know that. Dad is nodding along, and he says, of course we will, Bobby. Now just everyone calm down. What we need to do most of all is think carefully. There's no such thing as a problem that can't be solved or a process that can't be explained. It just takes clear thinking. And by that, of course, Dad means his thinking. They're both talking aloud, and yesterday I would have just shut up or said, I'm sorry or something. But it's amazing how brave you feel when the people who have run your life for 15 years suddenly can't see the disgusted look on your face. I stand up so fast that my chair tips over backwards with a big bang. I yank the towel from around my waist and throw it onto the table. Well, how about this? I'm shouting. How about if I just disappear for a while? You two go ahead and do all the clear thinking you want to. I'll just drop out of sight. You know, lay low a little. Then I'll let you know what I've been thinking. I take 3 silent steps backward and stand near the doorway by the telephone. 5, 6, 7, 10 seconds. Bobby? Mom is on her feet looking at where I used to be, but she can sense I'm not there. "Bobby, you stop it this instant." Now she's panicked. She's figured out that I could be out the door and on a bus by now. She's looking every which way, wringing her hands and biting her lower lip, and then yelling, "Bobby! Bobby!" And Dad is just sitting, palms flat on the table, staring at the floor, shaking his head. It's the logic again. Dad sees right away that I have all the power, so he's not wasting energy. But then come the tears. Mom slumps down in her chair and starts crying, and I can't take that. I can never take that. I have to fold. So I say, real quiet like, all right, I'm right over here. But remember, I'm the one with the problem here, not you. Because that's what they do. Both of them. Like if I get in trouble at school, suddenly they're the ones on trial, and they have to figure out what they have to do. It's always about them. Mom's mad, but mostly relieved. "Robert, that was just mean. It's not fair to hide that way. Promise me, Robert, that you will never do that again. And now I'm not the young man. Now I'm Robert, and I'm doing this to her. But I promise, with my invisible fingers crossed, of course." Then I say, "But guys, do you get what I mean? I mean, like, this isn't just some phenomenon. And it's not like I've got the chicken pox or the flu or something. This is completely different. And it's happening to me. And it means that I can't do anything like I did yesterday. So that's why I'm saying, what do I do?" And now I've got myself scared too. Because it's true. Horribly true. Here I am, standing here with my feet cramping up on the cold floor, imagining the rest of my life as the ultimate weirdo. I can't go anywhere. Clothes are supposed to have a body inside them, and mine is missing. I could go out naked, but that's not something sane people do anytime in Chicago, especially not in February. School? Gone. Off the air. Not that I care much. It's the U of C lab school. It's where the professors and the local geniuses, and it's all the rest of the university creeps send their kids. It's supposed to be so great. Better than Francis Parkman. Better than North Shore Country Day, blah, blah, blah. Most of the time I can barely tolerate it, except for the libraries and jazz band. I mean, it's not like I'm some psycho loner or anything. I've got friends, kids I eat lunch with, stuff like that. But I'm just not a private school kid. I go there because my family moved here 6 years ago. Plus my mom teaches at the university, so the tuition is cheap. Maybe my school's a great place if you're a show-off genius or a soccer god or something. But if you're me, it's just school. But that's over. At least for today. I stand there in the kitchen, naked and shivering, and I look at Mom and Dad still sitting at the table. They're stumped. I've never seen them this way. And that might be the scariest thing of all. With parents like mine, you get used to having them tell you what to do next. But I can see they don't have a clue. Not about this. And suddenly I think, why did I ever believe they had all the answers for me anyway? I mean, do they know a lot of semi-interesting stuff? Mom knows politics and history and English literature inside and out. And Dad's a certified brainiac, so he knows tons. And that's fine for them. But all that's got nothing to do with me, not right now. So I look at them sitting there and I say, I'll be up in my room. I've got to figure out what to do. And it's true. I've got to figure it out. Because this, what's happening right now, this is about me. Chapter 2, Experiments. A minute later, I'm sitting alone on my bed. I've got my dark green robe on, so when I look down at my legs and my arms, the shapes are right. But I hold up my hand and the floppy sleeves slides down my arm, and I can't see the arm or the hand on the end of it. I get up and turn on my desk lamp. It's a bright light, and I put my hand under it, palm down. I can feel the heat. I can't see my hand, but I do see something else. I see a very faint shadow of my hand on the green desk. Blotter. I start opening and closing my hand, watching the shadow of something I can't see. I'm so into it, I don't notice my dad until he's right next to me. He says, "That's interesting," and I jump, and my hand hits the light, and the shade makes this bong. I should have locked my door. Dad says, "So what do you make of that?" "You can't see it, but it makes a shadow. Except it's not a normal shadow, is it?" I know that tone of voice. It means Dad already has the answer, and he wants me to say, "Duh, I don't know," so he can show me how smart he is again. But I know the answer. Or I think I do. So I say, "It means my eyes can't see my hand, but the light from the lamp can't go all the way through it, I guess." Dad is nodding. "Bingo. When you came to the kitchen you said you were invisible. And you are. But what does that mean?" "You know, the stealth bomber? The Air Force calls that plane invisible." "Well, is it?" I say, "No, not really. But radar can't see the plane, so it's invisible to the radar." Dad says, "Bingo. That plane is invisible to the radar. But does the plane make a shadow when it flies between the Earth and the sun?" "Yeah, because the plane's still there, right?" "Bingo. And you're still here too, but you're invisible to the human eye. Now, how does that eye work?" I'm playing along because this isn't one of Dad's usual lectures, like where he sucks all the fun out of a roller coaster by talking about G-forces and potential energy. This stuff is important to me. I may not be the greatest student, but I read all the time, and I remember everything. I know a few things too. So I replay some 6th grade science for him. The eye picks up light through a lens, and the light makes an image inside the eye, and that image gets sent into the brain. Bingo. So why can't we see this hand? Now he's got hold of my hand at the wrist, and he's shaking it up and down under the light. Because the eye isn't getting the image? Bingo. Because what does it need to make an image? Dad's too excited now, so he answers his own questions. It's one of the things that stinks about living with a genius. The eye needs light, and there isn't light bouncing off your hand and into your eyes. Look at my hand. He holds my hand next to this big hairy one, the one with the Caltech ring on it. Same light, and bingo, there it is, because the light bounces off my hand into our eyes. We see one hand because there are 2 shadows on the desk. How come? Because even though your hand doesn't reflect any light, it's not transparent. And the reason that your shadow is faint and mine isn't must be because my hand stops the light and yours just bends it some. That's called refraction. Bingo. My dad needs one of those collars like they put on dogs that bark too much. Then when he says bingo, he'd get a shock. Now he says, lay your hand right on the desk. And I do, and he says, see that outline? It's the shape of your hand, but there's no color, no definite form, and the desk underneath is hidden. And see how the edge seems all wavy? That's because of the refraction. Now pull your hand up slowly. And I do. And as I do, the hand shape disappears. Hold it there. Dad's excited. See that? When you get 6 or 8 inches away from something, bingo, you're gone. It's like our brains fill in around the shape, and you go completely invisible. We're just not wired to see non-reflective, low refractive matter. I feel like one of those mice in the movie they made from flowers from Algernon. If I let him, Dad will think up little experiments for me all day long. I say, so how does all that help? Dad watches my robe as I go to sit on the bed again. He looks puzzled. Help? He asks. Yeah, how do all these observations help me? Well, I'm not sure yet, Bobby, but it's something, and it's pretty interesting, don't you think? I'm glad Dad can't see the look on my face, and I don't say anything right away because sarcasm does a bad thing to Dad's brain chemistry. Then I say, well, I'm going to try to get some sleep, Dad, which is a lot nicer than saying, get out, leave my room, and take all your interesting little factoids and theories with you. So Dad says, okay, Bobby, sure, that's a good idea. Rest is always a good idea. But I don't want to rest. Just be alone. When Dad's gone, I jump up and shut my door, and I lock it before I go back and flop onto my bed. Alone isn't new for me. I spend a lot of time this way. When I'm not at school, I mostly read. That's why I like the library, the big one next between 56th and 57th Street. It's part of the university, not the high school. I can hang out there as long as I want. But it's not like I need to go there to find books. Our whole house is like a library, which figures since Mom's a literature freak. If she catches me looking bored, she grabs a book and shoves it in my face and says I have to read 20 pages, and then if I want to stop, I can. A lot of the time I get hooked, like on Lord Jim. That was a strange one. And Hemingway. She made me read In Our Time, and then I read all his books, and she gave me Catch-22 and Cat's Cradle, so I got hooked on Vonnegut, and I even read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. High density, but good. On my own, I read stuff like Tolkien and A Wrinkle in Time and Michael Crichton, and I just finished The Odyssey. That was a surprise. It was actually good, and I found some good books on Dad's shelves, Richard Feynman especially. He's this very funny physicist, which are not words that usually go together, funny and physicist. Mostly I like books that have a world I can get into, and I guess that's because books have always been so much more interesting than my life, until today. After a few minutes lying down, I go over and open my desk drawer. I grab a ballpoint and write Bobby on the palm of my left hand. I look at the letters, and I wave my hand around in front of my face. My name is like this floating blue string. Then I see a pack of gum. I walk to the mirror above my dresser. I unwrap the piece of double mint and stick it in my mouth. I open wide, and it's there on my tongue. I shut my mouth, and it's gone. I chew with my mouth open, and I see the gum moving around between my teeth like a gray caterpillar. Then I swallow the gum, just to watch what happens. All gone. Then I work my tongue around in my mouth for about 10 seconds, and I spit at the mirror. And I can't see anything on the mirror. I rub my hand over the glass, and my hand feels wet. Invisible spit. I have invisible spit. Then I think about the gum I just swallowed. It's gone. But of course it's not. It's just down inside me, and like Dad said, I'm not transparent, because if I was, I'd still be able to see the gum, right there inside me. So then the gum goes through my stomach and everything, and then what? Only one way to find out. I unlock my door and head down the hall. I'm still shaking on my feet. I've got no visual fix of my own place in space. The robe helps, but I really miss my legs and feet. And here's the bathroom report. Most people go number 1 or number 2. I go number 3 and number 4. The sounds and the smells are familiar, but there's nothing to see. So it's like this. Something like a glass of water or a bowl of Cheerios starts out normal, but after it goes through me, it won't reflect light. It's too weird. I flush and then open the bathroom door, and Mom's standing there. She blinks and her eyes bug out as she sees my robe, and then they wander around looking for my face. "Are you all right, Bobby?" I say, "Yeah, fine. I usually go to the bathroom several times every day, Mom. Do I need permission now?" She gets this hurt look on her face, and for a second I feel like I ought to give her a hug or something, but I don't. I just step around her and carefully float my green robe down the hall to my room, and I shut my door. Then I punch the lock button so she can hear it loud and clear. I get in bed and lie back, staring at the ceiling. I close my eyes and it's dark. More proof that I'm not transparent. If I were, then I'd be able to see through my eyelids, right? I shiver, partly cold, partly scared. I pull the electric blanket over me and crank it up a notch. I shut my eyes again, and I lie still, just trying to think, to calm down. And I guess I do, because the next thing I know, I'm driving this dune buggy at about 100 miles an hour across a burning desert that looks like the surface of the moon. I sit up in bed, and I'm all sweaty, and there's a second or two when I don't know where I am or who I am, or what day it is, or anything. I'm still half in the dream, with sand hitting me in the face. There's my alarm clock, and it's 1:47, and I panic because I've overslept, like I'm late for school. Then everything comes crashing back into my head. I jump up and go to the mirror over the dresser, and there's only my robe, and I can see some smears on the mirror. It's my spit. Not invisible now. The robe's soaked with sweat, so I peel it off and pull on some boxers and jeans and a t-shirt and socks, because I remember how cold the floor was at breakfast. I go down the back stairs to the kitchen. "Mom? Dad?" There's no answer. Then I see the note on the kitchen counter. "Bobby, I couldn't get a sub for my Yeats seminar, so I am prepping now at my office. I'll be in Adler Hall from 3:30 to 4:30. Then I'll come right home. I called the office at school and said you had the flu. Mrs. Savin will hold your homework for me at the office. Dad will be home early, a little before 4, right after a meeting with his team. Don't worry, Bobby. Just watch TV or something. Call me if there's an emergency. Everything's going to be all right. Love, Mom." And then a second note scribbled below that. "Bobby, please be careful. Dad." My folks, they never lose sight of the important things, like keeping up with my homework and poetry seminars and Dad's atom smashing team. Well, we all know how vital that is to everyone. I can't believe what I'm reading. Watch TV or something? And then, call me if there's an emergency. So let me get this straight, Mom. Your kid goes invisible, and that's not an emergency? Watch TV or something? That's what the note says. So I say to myself, fine. I think I'll do the or something part. Chapter 3, Out There. The good thing about February in Chicago is that no one thinks it's weird if you're all bundled up. When I get on the city bus headed toward campus, I'm just another person who doesn't want to freeze to death in the wind chill. The stocking cap, the turtleneck, the scarf around my face, the gloves, it all looks natural, except maybe Dad's huge sunglasses. They make me look like Elwood from the Blues Brothers. It's about a half-mile bus ride from home to the stop at Ellis and 57th Street. Bouncing along, my heart is pounding so hard I can hear it crinkling in my eardrums. It probably isn't such a great idea to be going to the library, but I have to. What if I sit at home all day and watch TV and then tomorrow I wake up in my regular self again? It would be like nothing happened, same old, same old. So I'm going to the library to see what it's like. To be like this, at the library. As long as I get home before Dad does, no problem. Looking out the window of the bus, I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it into the library. It's the big one, the registering library. You have to show an ID at the entrance. If the person on duty wants to check my face against the picture on my lab school ID, things could get messy. But I come here a lot, and I know the guy who's working at the security desk today. He's a college kid. There's no line, and I hand him my card. "Hi, Walt. How's it going?" He looks at my picture and runs the card under the scanner. He smiles and says, "Everything's good, Bobby. You out of school early today?" I nod. "Yeah, working on a special project." He smiles and says, "Well, don't get too smart all at once, okay?" I start to walk toward the elevator, and Walt says, "Hey." I turn back and he grins and says, "Nice shades." I know exactly where I'm going. The elevator takes me to the top floor. There's a men's room up on 5, and I'm betting it's empty. It is. I shut myself into the stall against the wall and take off my clothes. I wrap everything in my coat. I look around and realize my little plan has a flaw. A public washroom does not offer a lot of places to hide a bundle of clothes, and they have to still be here when I get back. Then I look up. The ceiling's like one in my basements at home. It's not too high, and by standing on the toilet seat, I'm just tall enough to lift up a ceiling tile, push it to one side, and stick my bundle of stuff up there next to the light fixture. Then I pull the tile back in place. Before I leave the washroom, I look into the mirror above the sinks. I have to make sure I don't look like I feel, because I feel the way I am, which is totally naked. And I hope that at least for the next little while, I really do stay invisible. Leaving my house, riding the bus, walking to the library, when I did all that, I was wearing a full set of clothes, and my eyes told my brain that everything was normal, and I had no trouble walking or seeing my hand put quarters into the slot on the bus. That's because my hand was in a glove and my feet were in my shoes. Now I'm lost in space again. Like that first trip down to the kitchen at breakfast this morning, my hands and feet don't know how to obey me. I take it slow, feeling all dizzy and disoriented. I make myself walk back and forth through one of the periodical sections, stepping carefully around chairs and tables. My shadow is barely there, more like a ripple, sort of like the way light bends above a hot radiator. I try to reach out and touch the corner of an Arabian news magazine. I miss it by about 3 inches on the first try. It's like that coordination test where you have to shut your eyes and put your arm out straight and touch your pointer finger to the tip of your nose. Or like getting to the bathroom in the middle of the night without turning on a light and without running into your desk. It takes practice. After about 10 minutes, I'm getting a lot better, so I take a walk around the rest of the 5th floor. I know I've been up here on the 5th floor once or twice before, but nothing looks the same. Everything is different, except it's not. It's me. I'm what's different. I've never felt the carpet on the soles of my feet before, never felt the cold air rolling down off the windows along the north wall, never been even half this alert. It's like everything is under a bright light, and I'm worried that the handful of people scattered around the tables and computer terminals or reading the newspapers in easy chairs can hear the pounding of my heart. I end up back by the elevators. I'm steadier now, ready for places with more people, ready to do some serious exploring. I push the down button. Then I remember, I'm not really here. The doors slide open, and nobody's inside. Still, it's probably not a good idea to get into a small room that could fill up. So I walk down the stairs to the 4th floor, slowly, hanging on to the handrail. I'm hoping that everyone is too busy to notice when the stairway door opens all by itself. On 4, students are all over the place, and I know why. Midterms, same thing at the school library, I bet. But that's got nothing to do with me, not now. I'm having a little winter break. I just get to stroll through the beehive and watch the drones of buzz from book to book, filling up their heads so they can dump them out into test booklets a week from now. There's a girl using the online card catalog. She looks young, maybe a freshman. She taps on the keys, looks at the screen, frowns, shakes her head, and then taps some more. Bending over the keyboard, a long strand of brown hair keeps falling down into her eyes, and she keeps trying to hook it behind her left ear. She's having trouble with the computer. I walk up right behind her and look over her shoulder at the screen. She keeps highlighting a book title, but she can't get the computer to go to the next screen. I know what to do. All she has to do is press F7. But she keeps hitting the escape key, and it takes her backward. I step closer, and I wait until she has the title highlighted again. It's a book called Summer Hill. Then I lean forward, reach past her, take careful aim, and gently press or push the F7 key. The screen jumps ahead. The girl does a double take. Then she gives a little shrug and pushes the print key. I'm so pleased with my good deed that I don't think, because if she's pushed the print button, then this girl is probably going to push something else. And she does. The girl pushes her chair back, and one of the black plastic wheels rides right onto my big toe on my left foot. I can't help it. I yell, "Ah!" and push the chair forward. The girl gives a sharp squeal and scoots her chair backward again, harder. It almost clips me a second time, but I limp over and stand near the wall. Not too close, because I don't want my shape to show up as a blank space like my hand did on my desk this morning. It's hard to tell by just touching, but I think my big toenail is torn up. Even a little squeal sounds loud in the library, and that brings 4 other students to see what's happening to the girl. She can't explain. She turns bright red and says, "I guess I just scared myself." The other kids drift away, and the girl goes to get her printout. But when she comes back, she picks up her stuff in a hurry and moves to a different workstation over by the windows. I feel my hands shaking, and my breathing is ragged. What if I had a real injury instead of stubbed toe? Something serious, like if I had a broken leg, and I'm in a heap in the stairwell, and I'm losing consciousness. What then? I don't know the answer to that. In a few minutes, the pain in my toe dies down a little, so I head for the 3rd floor, slowly and limping a little, and I'm more careful. I know the third floor best. It's where they keep the recordings. They've got walls of vinyl LPs and the old 78 RPM records, even wax cylinders from the first Edison talking machine. It's where they keep a collection about Chicago's music. I did a term paper on the history of jazz in Chicago when I was in 8th grade. I had special permission to use the records in the listening rooms, too. They're like recording studios. No matter how loud you turn up the sound, it doesn't leak out. I even played my trumpet along with some of the records, and no one came to tell me to shut up. That was one paper I didn't mind doing. The third floor is even busier than the fourth. I move carefully, taking my time now. I glide by on my bare feet. I look, I listen, I'm out in public, but I'm completely alone. There's action all around me. People are doing things and saying things, but it's like they're in a different dimension, like they're on a stage or a screen. And me? I'm just watching an audience of one, watching secretly. I can't talk or sneeze or clear my throat. I can't pick a newspaper or turn the pages of a book or switch on a CD player. It's like I'm a gnat, flying around on my own. No one notices me, no one could care less. But if the gnat decides to fly into someone's ear, that can be dangerous. I'm glad my big toe is throbbing. It's a good reminder that the rules have changed. Standing here looking at a photograph of Louis Armstrong, suddenly it's clear that I've learned what there is to learn about the library today, which is, if you have to tiptoe around and you can't touch anything and you can't open a book or even whisper, then what's the point? I hike the stairs back up to the 5th floor, and I don't even have to hold on to the railing. My feet know where they are now. At the washroom door, I stop and listen. All clear. Then I'm inside the toilet stall with the door locked. The ceiling tile slides easily to one side, and I've got my clothes bundle. Then, voices, deep voices. The washroom door hisses open. It's 2 men. The door shuts and their voices get louder, because once inside, they stop thinking about being in the library. They talk in a language I don't know, standing side by side against the far wall. They finish, wash their hands, turn on both the electric dryers, and then leave. They never stop talking. All this time I'm holding my breath. I don't know if they look up to see the missing ceiling tile or not, and I don't care. All I know is they're gone and I'm not busted. Less than 2 minutes later, I am fully wrapped and coming out of the stairwell door on the ground floor. I'm not running, but when I glance at a wall clock, I feel like I should start. It's 3:25. My dad could already be on his way home from work. I don't feel like explaining what I've been up to. I don't have to have a book bag or anything, so I pass between the thief detectors and head for the exits at a slow trot. Can I catch a bus, or do I have to run the half mile with a bad toe to get home in time to keep my dad from throwing a fit? That's what I'm thinking, and by the time I actually reach the doors, I'm flying. Just then, Walt calls out from the desk behind me. "So long, Bobby." Walt's a good guy, so I turn to give him a quick wave, which isn't smart because I'm moving too fast. There's a blur on my right side. It's another person headed out the same door I'm charging at. There's no way to avoid the contact. It's a pretty solid hit, but neither of us falls down. Still, the girl's backpack drops to the floor, and 3 cassettes go clattering onto the floor. I'm scrambling for her stuff, and I feel like an idiot. And I'm saying, "Geez, sorry, are you okay? I'm really sorry. Here you go, I've got everything." I tuck the cassettes back into her bag and straighten up. Then I notice something else I should pick up. But for 2 seconds I'm frozen, locked with fear, because it's my scarf down there on the floor. I scoop it up and glance around, and I'm glad because nobody else really looking at me. But the girl is. She's looking at the very place where I'm uncovered from nose to my chin. As scared as I am, I can't help noticing how pretty she is. It's weird how she's smiling, and she's got this strange look in her eyes, and I'm waiting for the scream, and I'm ready to take off running, and I'm thinking, "Oh man, I'm dead." But the girl keeps smiling. As she reaches out for the strap of her book bag, she says, "I've dropped something else, over there maybe." And I look where she's pointing, and I see it about 2 feet away. I put my scarf back on, then I pick up the thing she dropped and hand it to her. And I know why that my invisible face didn't make this girl scream. Because what I hand her is a long, thin, white cane. The girl's blind. Chapter 4. Multiple Impacts. "Here, I'll get the door." I hold the door open for the girl. It's the least I can do after slamming her into the wall. She says, "Thanks," and smiles again, and I take a good look at her eyes. They are pale blue, but the color is strong, and now that I know she's blind, I can see that her eyes look that way, like the windows with the shades pulled down. There are little white scars below both eyebrows, but nothing you'd notice, nothing to keep her from being pretty. She's a little shorter than I am, but I think maybe she's older. Her hair isn't very long, about to her chin. It's brown and straight, and it's cut on an angle so it grazes the jawline on both sides of her face. You know how Hemingway writes? he couldn't write about this girl's face, because he'd say something like, "It's a pretty face," and that wouldn't be enough. This face needs someone like Dickens or maybe Tolstoy, someone who'd take a whole page and spend some time on her eyebrows and her cheeks, or maybe notice the shape of her mouth when she's concentrating on walking with her cane. We go down the steps, and I can see she doesn't need much help getting around. At the bottom I want to sprint for the bus, but I say, "So, are you at the university?" She shakes her head. "No, I just come here to study sometimes. I'm still in high school." "Yeah, me too, at the lab school. But all I can think about now is how late I am. So I say, "Well, I'm really sorry, that I bumped into you. I've got to go, so maybe I'll see you around?" For a half second her face changes, something sharp and bitter, but right away she smiles again and says, "Sure, see you around." I'm half a block away, racing the bus to the next stop before I figure it out, the way I'd said it. "I'll see you around," and the way she looked at me before she said it back, because she can't see. Not me, not anybody. I guess I maybe hurt her feelings, or maybe she thinks I'm a jerk. But so what? See you around? See you later? Everybody says stuff like that. After sprinting, the bus feels way too hot, but my big toe is happy that I don't have to run the whole way home. The bus goes past my house and starts to slow down for the stop at the corner. Panic. It's a pure gut reaction because there's a gray Taurus in the driveway, our car. Dad's already home, and I'm guessing he's already running around yelling my name, already calling Mom on her cell phone, already kicking his brain up into overdrive trying to figure out what to do because his new science project is missing. My mouth tastes like copper and my heart starts drumming, and when I get off the bus and start running right away, I'm thinking of all the ways I can sneak into the house. Maybe I can get in, strip off my clothes, and then make up some excuse why I didn't hear him calling. Like maybe I was in the bathtub with my ears underwater, or maybe I had my Walkman turned up too loud. I'm on my 5th or 6th lie when I remember. New rules. There are new rules.